Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gutterwise Marketing Podcast. Super excited to have you all with us today. The Gutterwise Marketing Podcast, for those who are not familiar, is where we just interview highly successful and really fun people from the gutter industry, learning about what they know and kind of what's keeping their businesses running smoothly. So today, I'm really excited to be joined by Noah Lantz. Noah, how you doing today?
Good, thanks.
Good to see you. Good to see you. For those of you who don't know, Noah is the director of the Rain Gutter Association, and he also owns a gutter business of his own called Gutter Hunks, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So we can just dive right in. Noah, can you tell us a little bit first about the Rain Gutter Association for those who aren't familiar?
Well, sure. So the Rain Gutter Association was originally called the National Rain Gutter Contractors Association. That was founded by Tony Cobb, I think back in 2008, 2003, something like that. So they had a website up and running for a couple years. Fun fact, back in those days when you Googled gutters, that website was the first one to ever pop up. Um, Now they kind of got distracted a little bit. Tony was running his own gutter company, All Gutter Systems in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he also started a company called Underdeck Oasis. So the NRGCA kind of fell by the wayside. So last year he kind of approached me to direct it. Um, and this year he just kind of gave the whole thing to me to just kind of run. So I rebranded it as the Rain Gutter Association. Our website is raingutterassociation.org, and we provide certification and training courses for rain gutter salespeople, installers, member benefits, networking opportunities, mastermind groups. We'll have events down the road too. So that's the Rain Gutter Association kind of in a nutshell. There's also kind of a consumer facing side to it as well. So I do interviews with like media outlets if they have questions about rain gutters, gutter protection, gutter maintenance. I'm the one that does all those interviews at the moment. There's also homeowner resources. If people want to learn more about rain gutters, why they're important, what kind of colors they should pick out, what different material options are out there, all that stuff. So, and that's kind of what I do on the association side.
Awesome. I love that you guys are kind of taking it in a new direction and that he allowed you to kind of take this over and direct it because I mean, majority of industries, plumbers, painters, roofers even, they all have some sort of national association where they meet and do a lot of these cool things. But for the longest time, gutters didn't really have the one that kind of did all of that, right? There was a few that were, private and didn't really really wasn't more of an association as much of a coaching group, but I'm really glad that you guys are kind of taking that initiative and taking this to the level that I think that the gutter industry deserves to have it at. Because, like I said, I think a lot of other industries have this, and gutters has done the gutter industry as a whole has grown immensely in the past 3 to 5 years. And so I think that we definitely needed some of that stability and that education and that training that a lot of these other industries do have. So I really appreciate that you guys are kind of doing that, and I love the whole concept behind it as well. So can we dive into the first couple, maybe the first little bit, first couple months, kind of what you were thinking when you jumped into the Rain Gutter Association? What was the goal from taking it where it was to maybe where it is today, and also where you guys are looking to go in the future?
So the biggest thing the Rain Gutter Association needed when I started was just a business plan. So I spent 2 weeks just mapping that out. What do we need to do to kind of make this thing run and be financially stable and viable, right? Because I mean, the reason it hasn't been done before is that it's difficult to make an association work, especially when you're dealing at different levels of a business, like a rain gutter business. Most gutter companies, like 99.9% of them, never get past $2.5 million in my research. So you're going to have companies out there, almost all of them with one or two trucks max. There's the 0.1% that are going to expand past that, like all gutter systems, right? They have four trucks, but even at that level, they're going to struggle past getting 2.5, 3 million in revenue. So the first thing I needed to focus on was how do we build a value proposition where people are actually going to come in, engage with the association, pay for it on a monthly basis to kind of build something out that we can work with long term. Tony was really harping in on the safety and certification courses which are an important part of the whole recipe and are, what we spent the most time putting together. Um, there's also, the things I helped put together, like member benefits, the networking part of it, the newsletter, the marketing, the branding, all that stuff. So, running an association is a job. There's no two ways about that. And as it gets larger, it's going to become more and more of a job. But yeah, just getting it off the ground. I mean, took quite a bit of planning. If you're not planning, you're planning to fail. So I wanted to have everything outlined, everything mapped out on a document, so we knew exactly where we were headed from day one.
For sure, for sure. And are you guys planning on doing some sort of larger event maybe? Because I know, at least in the industry, now we have Gutter Summit doing its thing, and we have other things like Gutter Con. Are you guys looking to create your own event for Rain Gutter Association, kind of like those two?
Yeah, so there's a couple options with that. I mean, one would obviously be to have an event of our own, like another gutter conference, right? Another option might be like training seminars, which I think would probably be where we would start if we ever do decide to go in that direction. Once a year, we do an annual gutter cruise. Um, so that is something we currently do offer. Um, but that's kind of a tax write-off and vacation all bundled together, right? So yeah, I think having a more industry-focused event is in the cards down the road. The membership needs to grow quite a bit before that's even an option. And how exactly we go about doing that, whether we partner with someone else like GutterCon or Gutter Summit or something else, and it's a Rain Gutter Association event, or we do something of our own, that's up in the air at the moment.
Nice, nice. Well, at least you have some idea of kind of what you want to do. And I like the cruise idea. That's always fun getting a bunch of guys together like
That
that.
was
So
Tony's idea. Yeah.
of course it was, right? Of course it was. Tony's a great guy. So what were some of the biggest challenges in the beginning that you were facing, and even today? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing the gutter industry face through all of your research and a lot of these guys that you're working with currently?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing that maybe not just in the gutter industry, maybe just the contracting world as a whole, is going to be people starting their first business and they're not quite sure how exactly to go about running the day-to-day operations. So most gutter installers who start their own gutter company don't have real business experience. They don't know how to sell. They certainly don't know how to put marketing together. They don't know how to do taxes. Maybe they don't even know how to talk to customers, right? And that's why most of them have that glass ceiling they just can't seem to get past. So that has always been and continues to be the biggest challenge of the industry. Um, the other challenge I would say that most gutter contractors struggle with is different. How do I say that word? Differentiation in the
Yeah,
market.
there you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That took long enough. Yeah. So gutters are, unless you really put some effort into finding some type of product out there that you and you alone can sell, you're going to be hanging the same gutters as everybody else, unless there's something that you offer, like an experience you offer, or a guarantee, or something like that to help separate you from the rest of the pack. You're going to be competing based on price. Um, so one of the things I thought a lot about before starting my own gutter company is, hey, how do I offer some type of differentiation between myself and the 100 other people doing this in my territory? That's something I'm still working on, but Gutter Hunks as a brand is something that I put a lot of thought into and kind of what I'm leaning on at the moment. But next year, there's going to be a whole lot of work on the product itself.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And that is true. That's true for a lot of home service companies, right? A lot of times the product that we're selling or the service that we're selling is the same. Like you think pest control, right? The goal of the job is to remove the pests, right? Get rid of whatever pests are coming through. And really there's, different ways you can do that, different chemicals, whatever they might use, but at the end of the day, the result is the result. And it's the same thing for gutters, right? The result is the result. And it's hard, like you said, to differentiate yourself, kind of stand out above the crowd, and that's why I think two things are really important. Number one, marketing. Obviously, if you have the correct marketing levers in place, I'm a little biased, right? But if you have these correct marketing levers in place, it's a lot easier to stand out from the crowd because you're able to get found a lot easier, right? And then second off is communicating value. I think this is something that Colin DeHaan of Gutter Launch and Superior Exteriors talks about a lot is communicating value. So how can we communicate to the customer that the price that we charge or the difference between us and Joe Schmo over here is that much greater, right? And it's all about perceived level of value. And there's, that could be an entire webinar, seminar, class on itself. But really, I think those are the two main ways that I'm at least seeing a lot of guys do. I spoke with I did a recorded a podcast episode recently with a fellow member of the Rain Gutter Association, Robert Ward of Holy City Gutter Works, and he does a really good job of this is communicating the value in his market area and kind of becoming that premium offer, and then also kind of being able to, like you said in the beginning, get those operations dialed in, right? Getting those accounting processes and those marketing processes and those scheduling processes down so that they have the reduced friction to scale, right? And so I think that's really I love how you said that as kind of how can we create that value proposition? How can we create that differentiation factor? And I think that's a really interesting thing that you guys are helping do in the Rain Gutter Association, because you're helping provide these certifications and these training courses and these opportunities to that contractors might be able to use as their differentiation, right? They could say we are we're what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm
Rain
also
Gutter Association, RGA certified.
yeah,
So
RGA certified, right?
yeah.
Exactly. So
So the people that really take advantage of the platform, that do run their salespeople and installers through the program itself, doesn't take a tremendous amount of time.
mhm.
But at the end of that course, they actually get a certificate that I've designed to show to homeowners, prospects, other contractors, hey, we're third party verified to actually do this job, right?
Yep.
So if you're a Rain Gutter Association member and you're taking full advantage of that, then it does significantly affect your customers' perception of your company. And
Right. And
that's
are
the
you
main
guys finding that that is the case, that people that leverage the RGA certified part of it, are they seeing dramatic difference between those that aren't?
So the ones that tell me they're using the courses and they carry the certificates with them, yes, they tell me that, yeah, that it does make a difference. So Robert Ward's one of them.
Mhm.
James from New England Gutter Protection also carries his sales certification around. Sean Thompson, Southern Star Roofing and Seamless Gutters in Texas, all their salespeople carry their certifications around with them, and they show them to customers. They leave copies of them in folders. They even leave those behind with the prospect. So yeah, they tell me it does make a difference.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. A really
And
great way.
aside from that, like the certificate itself, it doesn't just say I'm RGA certified. You can trust me. Like there's a second page to that explaining what the Rain Gutter Association is and then why that certification is important to homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
So that certificate is designed to show to prospects. I haven't really made that clear until this podcast, but I'm going to throw that out into the nether right now. Like that certificate is designed for homeowners to read through and be like, oh, the Rain Gutter Association is a thing. They have a website I can visit. These people have been through their training. So I'm not just hiring Joe Schmo to do gutters on my house. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Really, like I said, kind of increasing that value proposition. Hey, we are certified to do this job by a third party, like you said. So, other than kind of having that differentiation, what else do you see is working for contractors today? You're getting in contact with a lot of them. What are you seeing that is getting people's trucks to stay running, getting people to stay busy, and just making sure that that cash keeps coming in?
Well, boy, probably the biggest thing going on the marketing aspect of it is going to be just maintaining a steady flow of leads, but also making sure that your books are in order is the other thing I see a lot of. That and just making sure you have a healthy working environment. So I mean, like if you have a lot of drama in your gutter company or people's responsibilities aren't clear, or there's an unclear chain of command, then it can really create some issues. So I mean, I hire contractors occasionally for Gutter Hunks, my business, right? And recently had one kind of dissipate because there was a disagreement between the partners. Um, so just making sure your ducks in a row is huge. I mean, if your business is installing gutter, then it's really not terribly difficult to keep doing that, right? As long as you do a couple things right. But even those couple things can really throw some uh, metal in the engine if you're not careful. Yeah.
For
In
sure.
terms of what I do, right? I look at my job running gutter hunks as more of a marketing and sales organization than installation. So my job is making sure that I do know what the marketing looks like. I do have a budget for that. I know how to sell prospects. at, at a reasonable rate, right? To make it a win-win for them too.
Yeah, I'd love for you to dive into that a little bit more. Kind of what are you guys doing at Gutter Hunks to keep those leads flowing in and keep those prospects um, interested in what you guys got to sell?
Yeah, well, sure. So part of a larger business plan, I have like a multi-year plan in mind that goes out about 3 to 4 years. This first year is just about keeping the ship running, like figuring out how everything works together. What do I need to do to kind of make it happen, right? Next year is about systemizing that. The third year is about scaling that. So in my third year in business, I'd like to open up 2 other offices of Gutter Hunks, one in Detroit, potentially another one in kind of an undefined location at the moment. But I mean, I spent the first half of this year just getting my builder's license, um, putting the website together, and now I'm actually out there talking to prospects. I also had to build relationships with subcontractors and all that, and figure a couple things out. And some of that I'm still doing, right? But that's okay because I kind of accounted for that in my larger business plan. Um, so in terms of what I'm doing to kind of drive leads at the moment, um, door hangers, yard signs, word of mouth. I'm starting to do paid ads here shortly. So that is kind of the business plan at the moment. But next year is going to be about systemizing that to actually build, create quite a bit more leads. Also hire out the sales portion of that job, so I'm not the one doing it. And then at that point, yeah, building more of a system rather than just trying to survive.
For sure, right, for
Yeah.
sure. So since you have this dual role, right, at the Rain Gutter Association and with Gutter Hunks, what are a few things that you are taking from both of those to kind of learn from both of those separate businesses and roles that you have and kind of forming them together, right? Things that you might be taking from the Rain Gutter Association that you're implementing into Gutter Hunks and vice versa.
Yeah. So the biggest thing I get, being the director of the Rain Gutter Association as a benefit for Gutter Hunks is just the networking and being able to learn from other people that have been running their own business longer than I have. So, I mean, the reason I was picked to kind of run the Rain Gutter Association is just because Tony knows me very well. We're good friends. He's seen me do some work that has had some significant impact in the space, just as a gutter sales guy, because I worked for him for 6 months back in 2018 before I left to work for some gutter related software, but now pretty widely used, honestly. So he saw that. He's like, I think Noah can do this. I've done that. But yeah, that's how kind of the Rain Gutter Association plays into Gutter Hunks. As far as how Gutter Hunks plays in the Rain Gutter Association, that's going to be more, I think, down the road. So I do have a bunch of courses and safety stuff in the Rain Gutter Association currently. One of the things I would like to do down the road, once I'm able to spend more time in it, is build out coursework that kind of teaches other rain gutter business owners some very essential skills. So like how do I use QuickBooks? How do I run a Google ad campaign? How do I build a website, right? Some of that stuff they should hire out, but they should at least have a surface level view of how it gets done so they can identify what works and what doesn't. So yeah, that's kind of how the relationship works.
Nice. I like that kind of getting that base level of knowledge first before you kind of just send it off to hire it out, delegate it, whatever. Because I mean, we come across that all the time, obviously, since we are on the marketing side of the business. We come across contractors every day that are, they want to get their advertising up and running, and then I try and present to them, hey, this is what I feel like you guys need to do. This is you need to get your XYZ in order. And then they just kind of look at me like, okay, but is my phone gonna ring? I'm like, well, yes, but do you know like this is what we're actually going to be doing? And they're like, okay, but just make my phone ring. And I'm like, okay, great. I get how we need to approach this from now on. But regardless, I think that it's important for all business owners to have at least a basic understanding of how each function of your business works before you separate it out. Because at least for me in my company, a lot of our client acquisition, right? So how we actually get clients coming in, I've been doing myself for the past year and a half to 2 years. And now I'm looking into systematizing that and getting that delegated. But I only feel comfortable doing that now because I know exactly how it works, right? I know how to phrase things. I know how to, where to find people, that sort of thing. And so now that, I understand that process of my business, then I'm feeling comfortable to kind of push that aside. And I think that goes along with all sides of business, right? Not only marketing and sales, but also finance. Like you said, how do you run a P&L? What does that look like? What's a good P&L? What's a bad P&L, right?
Yeah.
So I really like that base level knowledge that you talked about there. Robert Ward in the last podcast that I recorded discussed how important it was that he got his books in order to really start growing the company. And I wanted to ask you how you feel that that plays along in the entire industry, because that was very important for his business, and you had just mentioned how you would like to teach people how to use QuickBooks and things like that. But do you think that this is more of a gutter specific problem, or is this kind of like a contractor in general thing?
Yeah. So I really only know the gutter industry super well. I've worked in roofing and then general home improvement before, just not as long as gutters. I would suspect it's probably a bigger issue in the gutter world than most other industries. Probably not the worst, like I would assume painters might, be a little bit more cruder just because that job isn't quite as sophisticated as gutters, right? Not to, put down any painters who are watching the podcast. But yeah, it's a very low barrier to entry business, right? Especially if you don't bother with the legal side of it. So if you're not bothering with getting licensed, so I have my builder's license, right? So you can actually hire me to build a whole house from the ground up, foundation, walls, roofing, gutters. I didn't have to do that before I started the company. I just wanted to. So I had a better understanding of what goes into a house because that could be important down the road for me. Um, but with gutters, I mean, really all it takes, man, you need a truck, you need a trailer, you need a place to manage some inventory, but not a tremendous amount, especially when you're starting off. And you just have to know how to hang gutter, man. So you can get off the ground reasonably with like 20, 30 grand. It's going to be tight, but you can make it work. Especially if you have like a line of credit or something. So because it's a low barrier to entry, because it's relatively easy to line up work if you compete on price, like with other contractors, um, I think it's easy to lose track of the the business management side of things. So that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah,
I,
I would
I talked to
agree.
Dan when I was starting the Rain Gutter Association. There's an article on the website that talks about why most rain gutter businesses fail. But yeah, the number one thing is money management.
For sure, for sure. Especially when a lot of these businesses are seasonal, right? Because pretty much if you're not in the, southern or warmer parts of the United States, a lot of your business, especially up in Michigan or New York or even places like Colorado where we're at, is very seasonal because of, the weather that we have. And so planning ahead for that is also something that I see a lot of guys just tank for. They'll shut down for 3 months, and then it'll be time to reboot back in season, and they're just not ready. They're just not
Yeah,
right. They're just like they don't have
yeah.
the systems put into place to either stay in business during those slow months, putting some other services in place, like Christmas lights is a popular one, or snow removal is a popular one. But um, I just think that also that planning aspect, and I really like how you mentioned how you got your builder's license to plan for the future, right? Because I assume I'm putting words in your mouth here, but I assume that in the future you might want to add on other services instead of just being gutters, maybe doing more exteriors, and so that's kind of why you wanted that certification. Am I correct in saying that?
I mean, yeah, you're tracking along the right, path here. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I like how you took that step into making sure that you understood all of that side of the business before you even really got started in the gutter side. And so when it comes to planning, what do you guys think, or what do you at least think is one of the biggest missed pieces that gutter guys don't plan for when either starting their business or looking to scale?
Boy, yeah, a couple things, and probably some stuff I take for granted. So like I built a website, gutterhunks.com. You can go in there, peruse it. I'm sure it's not super well optimized, but I put together all the content, all the visuals, the graphics, all that stuff. And I wanted to build a brand that people would, you know, remember if they heard it once. That was really important to me. I also wanted something that did have like a different is it need to be different. So like gutter hunks, right? Like you kind of hear that like gutter hunks, dude. What could that possibly be? it sounds like it's prostitution almost, right? Um, but like it works. Like the theme is like the actual brand is like Gutter's junk called Gutter Hunks. And then I bought a phone number and everything to kind of go with the brand. I researched the biggest brands in the gutter business to see what they were doing. I keep all their marketing material at my home because I get stuff in the mail all the time from them. So I keep that on file. I go through it, use it as a reference. And I did that when I designed my logo. So I picked three colors, two shades of green, gray, because the biggest gutter companies in the world do that. And I'm not going to do it any better than them. So I didn't want to just do Lantz gutters or name it after myself like I see most people do. Or, yeah, I don't know. The one mistake I think I made with the brand, and I might rectify it down the road, is I named it, it's a company name, it's not a product name.
Mm.
And so I think I may change the name down the road. Not sure if I'll do that, but I may do it um, if I land on a specific product name that I think will sell really well.
There
Um,
you
because again, going back to product differentiation, right? If you're just selling gutters, then you're going to be competing with the other gutter companies. But if you're selling more of a product, which you kind of see like K-Guard does that, Leaf Filter does that. The name of their product's Leaf Filter. It's not like gutter leaf filter or anything like that. Those are the companies that really scale.
go. Mhm.
So yeah, I would say like a lot of people don't put a lot of thought into the brand.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure.
that could also be me speaking a little bit from like I put all this thought into the brand, so I have like this giant hammer I'm holding, and that's kind of what everything's a nail, so I'm just hammering away with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. But I mean, branding is super important, especially for that, differentiation side, and especially if you're looking to do more than just your local market, right? Like if you want to stay kind of in your area and kind of in your region and just kind of dominate that, then fine. Like that works, and you can definitely dominate that region with just a decent brand that people know in that area for your service. But like you said, if you're looking to do something a little bit more, a little bit higher level, having that brand recognition is super important. And Leaf Filter does really well at that. Brothers That Just Do Gutters do really well at that. And so having that sort of that extra piece to the puzzle really helps just take you up to the next level. So I like how you said that.
Well, and brothers that just do gutters, right? Good example of what I'm talking about. So you're right, they do a lot of emphasis on the brand. They have a franchise model that works. But if you look at the actual owner operators of the franchises, they rarely do more than 2.53 million. So even with that like that strong brand image and strong reputation and they do good work, they still hit that glass ceiling. So um that's something I want to be very careful to avoid. Um yeah. And hey, dude, if I do 2 million next year, awesome. Not expecting that, but I will get there. It's just going to be a matter of again scaling past the just me. So
Yeah, yeah. It all takes time, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is the time aspect. You can have all the systems and you can have all the, you can have the steps in place, but it takes action and it takes time because then not everything's just going to happen right away. So I definitely agree. The Rain Gutter Association has been a huge resource for a lot of people who are looking to learn how to effectively run and scale gutter companies and kind of learn from other people that are doing the same. Who did you learn from? I mean, even going all the way back from when you first got into the home service industry and into the trades, who did you learn from and kind of gather information to kind of get yourself out there and boost up your career?
oh man, there's four people I can think of. So one's Tony, obviously, right? I would say that was actually more recent though. So I worked for Tony for 6 months from 2018 through 2019. But at that point, we weren't really friends. I was just kind of an employee. Um, I learned probably more from Bill Freiberg, who was the production manager at AGS, All Gutter Systems, Tony's company at the time. Afterwards, again, I was working for a software company, so didn't really learn a whole lot oddly enough, from the founder of that company, but I did learn a lot from talking to our customers. So I was talking to a lot of gutter guys. I was talking to people in like foundation repair, waterproofing, all that stuff. So through those interactions, I was able to build a really good mental profile of how these companies operate, like what types of personalities work in them, what issues they have. And I was even able to start to envision like creative solutions to some of those problems. some of which I was able to bring to fruition, some of which I have yet to do. But um, yeah, after I left the software company, I was able to work very closely with the CEO of one of the largest home improvement companies in the nation for like an extended period of time, very closely. I was essentially like his writer for a little bit, kind of as weird as that sounds. But talking to him, I was able to get a really good idea of what it takes to go from like a really small organization to a really huge organization doing like, you know, nine figures in business. Um, and and that's kind of what I try to model myself after a bit more, but yeah, and take steps to get there. So there, yeah, there's been a handful of people that I look up to. Some people you learn more like what you don't do. um, but yeah, that's kind of been my background a little bit. I'm very fortunate to have met all these folks and been on the journey I've been on the last several years. It's had its ups and downs, sometimes more downs than ups, but um, I guess that takes faith to kind of keep moving forward through that.
Of course, of course. And for how important do you think that kind of was when you were getting into your career, learning from all those people? Because especially, I mean, at least I know myself, I'm very independent, and I know a lot of other entrepreneurs feel that way as well. They feel like they can all do it themselves, and they want to just kind of tough it out and figure it out, and they'll get there one day. How important would you say it is to kind of learn from people like that to speed up that process and say, you don't have to do it all yourself because look, there's these 10 other guys who have done it before you that did it way better than you and you can learn from them. How important do you think that is, at least for your career?
Yeah, I mean that's huge if you want to grow your business. If you're the one doing all the work, you can never grow, right? So right now, I have all these seats I fill in my own company. I'm the CEO, I'm the sales guy, I'm the production manager, I'm the accountant, right? Um, but you can't really grow a business doing things that way. It becomes more of a job than a business. So, learning that lesson from somebody else instead of doing it yourself is huge. And again, right now I'm doing it all myself. That's not the plan next year. Next year is like start hiring that stuff out. So, um, yeah, but I know that that's the route to go. And I think some people have to learn that from years and years of just going through the grind and going through the motions, failing several times. But that's something that I keep top of mind all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I completely agree. I mean, I've had plenty of great mentors. You've obviously had plenty of great mentors, and it's something that really helps just take a lot of the stuff off your plate and allow you to bypass a lot of the mistakes that other people have already made. So I completely agree. Well, hopefully, maybe one day, especially with your position in the Rain Gutter Association, a lot of people might be able to get that sort of knowledge from you, and they might have a lot of questions for you, especially those who are maybe listening to this podcast. So, if anyone is looking to get in touch with you, or they want to ask you some questions, or they're curious about the Rain Gutter Association, what would be the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, no, just go to raingutterAssociation.org. Website's up there. Um, you can also go to gutterhunks.com and my contact info is on all that stuff. So yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, those are the best ways to do it.
Awesome. Well, Noah, I really appreciate you spending a couple minutes with us today and really spreading your wisdom, spreading your knowledge, and kind of giving us a little insight of to both of your really cool businesses that you're a part of. So I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure all of the listeners do as well. So again, thank you, Noah.
All right, thanks, George.
Of course. Have a good day.
You too.